Smart city applications and infrastructure. Remember earlier when we talked about stakeholders in smart cities? They are the ones with the objectives, drive the policies, and provide the resources. The objectives drive the applications, which in turn drive the processes, and then the infrastructure. We list below a few applications as examples, as there are hundreds of smart city applications. Now, these applications are the ones that give the stakeholders the benefits, things that they will dedicate their limited resources for. Now, once the applications have been determined and prioritized, processes can then be designed around them. Some of the examples here actually need their own systems and are an application unto itself. For example, a government appointment booking system may take much effort to bring several ministries together to make it work. The adoption of a mobile payment system itself can take years to build such an ecosystem. So when smart city projects are launched, they may be actually better off using some of these existing systems or just simply enhance them rather than to build some of these from scratch. Now, the point I'm trying to bring across is that the top three layers, they are the colored ones, and they rise to the top because they actually take much time to prioritize due to stakeholder management. A lot of resources are used because the processes are complex. And nothing much seems to happen in the meantime, while these processes and infrastructure are being built. Unfortunately, during this difficult period, many project teams, they then lose interest, the stakeholders move on, and the projects simply disappear, which is why a strong leader is always needed in this phase of such infrastructure transformation projects. Now, once the colored layers are determined and funded, then we can roll out the gray layers. These are the infrastructure layers to support the applications that the stakeholders are interested in. We will give some concrete examples of how these layers work together towards the end of this training. The stakeholders, they are not interested in the gray portions because they do not drive the direct benefits from the deployments. In Smart City 1.0, the gray layers were the focus, leading to unsustainable projects. Now, don't get me wrong, you cannot run smart cities without a highly reliable communication network connecting a multitude of sensors. City traffic analysis and planning cannot be effective without long-term capture and storage of the movement of people and vehicles. But to the citizen, it is the smooth flow of traffic, buses arriving on time, that are important. In the next section, we will talk about the Internet of Things, where we will discuss the gray layers. Now, at this point, I will highlight that IoT platforms take care of the first two gray layers, and the communication networks tie the sensors and devices and computing elements all together. Now we talk about the smart city market size. Now, if smart cities are so challenging, now why will anyone then want to get into this space? There must be big money involved. Well, true. Every country from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe now has a smart city program of some kind. China, Japan, and Korea are eager to fund such projects in developing countries. The European Commission has funding for smart city projects in the EU countries. Globally, according to Frost and Sullivan, there is a $3.3 trillion market by 2025. The biggest segment is about a third, and that is in e-government and public safety projects, with smart energy and resource management being the next biggest segment. It is difficult to get common definitions and details of smart cities between all these market analysts, but it's safe enough to say that it is a large and fast-growing market. According to IDC, in Asia Pacific, outside of Japan, 2018 saw smart city spending of about 28.3 billion US dollars. Now this will continue to grow to about 55.5 billion US dollars in 2022, almost double in a span of 4 years. Now most of these projects are in China and India, and some of these are actually traditional projects, that are converted to smart. So what are the business opportunities in smart cities for investors and enterprises? Well, one, connectivity. All smart cities are dependent on having a reliable, preferably high-speed network connection for sensors, computers, and the people. So it is a safe bet to do connectivity, but not all connectivity will go to the incumbents in new projects. We have seen in Surat Safe City the network being delivered by a local ISP because they could do it at 1/3 the price of India's telecom giants. So watch out for disruptions from new service providers who have lower cost models. With 5G coming, we will see even more disruptive cost models coming. Data centers and cloud services, cybersecurity. Now, cloud is a new paradigm because it offers a lot of flexibility at lower costs. Now, most of the giants like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Alibaba are all rolling out huge data centers in different regions. But local laws may require local storage and the processing of citizen information. Security is now a big concern, with countries and citizen data concentrated in a few locations and open to public network connections and sharing. Most countries have also started citizen cybersecurity awareness training and education to prevent social engineering and scams. Next is managed services. That's another opportunity. Why? Because governments have started to outsource the management of their data centers, but mostly to locally owned companies as they continue to focus on their core competencies of building and running a country, a city, a town, a region. Why locally owned companies? Because again, as I mentioned in the previous section, in the previous point, that there are local laws that prevent international companies from outsourcing and then running this offshore.